Hello today, and today I'm going to be talking about a history of the computers that I've owned over the years. I've done a video a long time ago actually about the history of computing for me, but this video is going to be about the computers that I've owned over the years. Now I'm not going to be talking about the PCs I've owned over the years because that'll probably be, I can't remember every single PC I've owned anyway. And not only that, I have the later ones that I've built myself. So, yeah, we're not going to talk about PCs. We're going to talk about, like, the computers that possibly many people have owned before. Because, basically, let's face it, in the 80s and the early 90s, PCs were very expensive. But as I said, we're not going to be talking about that. So things like brands like Amstrad, Spectrum, Commodore, you know, those sort of brands. And then there's a few consoles I've owned as well. So, yeah, so basically it all started in 1985 for me. Yes, I was quite late to the computer times, but, you know, better late than never, I suppose. You know, things were quite expensive back in the day. Anyway, let's go. So this is where it all started for me back in 1985. So the first computer that the only computer that my parents bought me. So as I said, 1985. So it was the Amstrad CPC 464 color personal computer. And yes, well, I, at this point, never even heard of Amstrad CPC computers before. Obviously, I know of the brand because my dad had a Amstrad stacking system. So, at this point, I did not know they manufactured computers. So, yes, so 1985. And I was very excited when this came through the door. I was aware of it. I was aware that my mother ordered a computer. But obviously, it was a big deal when we first got it. God, and it also came with a 12-pack of software, mainly games, and yeah, a lot of good games that I had for this computer. Yeah, 80. So this would have been the thicker key model. It was the original one that I had with the color monitor, original color monitor. I don't know. I think it cost about 350, something like that. Obviously, they paid it on the weekly, the HP. Yeah, I remember. It also came with a desk. Obviously, it was one of these cheap flat pack desks, but it came with a desk. I think nothing extra. Yeah, I don't know what the shop was called. I think it was like a small retailer or something like that. It weren't nothing like Dixon's or Curry's or something big like that. I think it was a really small shop. Yeah, I was really excited to have this computer. Yeah, it was really good. So it had a tape drive built into it. Now, I owned 3 of these in my time because the original one, I overworked it. I think the tape drive actually wore out because I was just overplaying it, overusing it. And eventually, when this one broke, the main computer broke, because obviously you can't use the computer without the monitor, because the monitor powers the Amstrad CPC 464. There was a modulator that I had later on, and it was rubbish. I would not recommend a modulator to anyone, because playing it through a normal TV via an aerial lead was absolute rubbish. And that later I just didn't want to play on it no more. As I said, I had 3 of these computers back in the day. The second one, when this broke, was another model. It was the same thing sort of, but it had thinner keys. Had the thinner key model. It had the original Amstrad logo on it. I never had one of the Amstrads with the newer logos with the stripes. Never had one of those. And there was a third Amstrad I bought in the 90s, early 90, 92 I think. I might have bought it. It was one going cheap. So I brought it because this is when the second one, I think the monitor went, that's when I got the modulator. But yeah, I ended up getting a third one for some reason with the monitor, and I ended up selling it. Yeah, so 1985, I believe. 1991, that's when I got my next computer, which was because the monitor messed up and I didn't enjoy playing it on the modulator because the picture was terrible going through the aerial lead from on the TV. I was going to get another computer. Originally, I wanted the 464 Plus machine. Yeah, because this was the new out in 1990. This is when I left school and started working, so I was earning my money. So I wanted to buy myself a computer. Yeah, and originally I wanted to buy the 464 Plus computer. That just came out. But unfortunately, there was none in stock. And I remember the salesman, this was 30 years ago now, and I remember the salesman trying to fob me off with an Atari. Might have been an Atari ST. I didn't want an Atari ST. I was actually wanting the 464 Plus, but they didn't stock it. So I thought, well, I'll wait then. I'll wait. I wasn't going to buy it if they didn't have it. So I was thinking also maybe buying an Amiga, Commodore Amiga at this time. Because my mate had a Commodore 64 down the road, he said, why didn't you buy a Commodore 64? Because he's got loads and loads of games. So that was my next computer I bought. I bought a Commodore 64, brand new. Yes, I was about 9 years late to the party on this one. 9 years late. And I was still selling them in 1991 because, was it 1991? Could have been 91. They were still selling loads of games for them. You know, they were still making 8-bit games at this point. I think 91 could have been the final year for the 8-bit systems. 92, then they started declining because there was not many titles for the 8-bit systems. But yeah, I ended up buying a Commodore 64, and it was brand spanking new. It was the Night Moves pack. I remember that. It came with the Commodore 64 tape drive, 2 packs of games. Like, so we got an educational pack like Trivial Pursuit and stuff, Mindbenders, I think, and the Night Moves game compilation. I think that came with, I can't remember now. Was it Spy vs Spy? Did it come with Midnight Resistance? Oh, I can't remember. No, it came with about 4 games, and it came with 2 joysticks, 2 Cheetah Annihilator joysticks, which were crap. Yeah, they're rubbish joysticks. But fortunately, I already had joysticks at this point anyway, from my Amstrad CPC 464. So yeah. So yeah, my Commodore 64. It wasn't. I didn't have that as long. I did, but obviously, because as I said, 8-bit gaming was coming to an end, so I wanted to take the leap. And this obviously comes to no surprise what computer I owned next. The Commodore Amiga 500. Now, there was a good reason why I wanted to buy the Commodore Amiga. I had a friend up the road. He had one, and he played Formula One Grand Prix. And when I saw that game, oh my God, I wanted an Amiga. So I made it priority to finish off, pass my driving test, which I did. I passed my driving test, and then I made it a priority to buy a Commodore Amiga. That's how I was working at this time, so money was not really a problem. So yeah, but it was second hand. I bought a second hand one because they were quite expensive at this time, but yeah, I think I paid about 300 quid for it, and it came with loads and loads of games, come with all the stuff that it needed. I'm sure it was the Batman pack that I got, the Batman pack. Yeah, so wow, what a step up, going from 8-bit computing to 16-bit computing, because I've never ever used an Amiga at this time. So it was a huge leap, huge leaps, going from cassettes from the like from the Amstrad CPC 464 and the Commodore 64, because I never had a disk drive for either those machines, and didn't have a disk drive. Say my words properly. So yeah, so both of those computers only had 64K, but this had, obviously, I think it was a base memory of 512K with an extra 1 MB of upgraded to 1 MB, that which came with it. It was a board underneath the Amiga. Yeah, and it upgraded it to 1 MB, which back then was quite a lot. But yeah, I didn't have a monitor for it, but I eventually got a SCART lead and plugged it into the back of my TV, and the picture was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, and I had a 26-inch TV at this time, so it looked amazing. Yeah, and I really like that computer. I played some many good games on it. Really enjoyed it. And it's also, I did have a mouse for my Amstrad CPC, but it wasn't required. These 8-bit computers didn't require a mouse. Obviously, this did. And to experience the Amiga was fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Really liked the Amiga. But then next year, the following year, I think this was about 92, I bought this Amiga 500, but 93 I bought a brand spanking new Amiga 1200. So that Amiga 500 was the only 16-bit computer I owned, because this is actually a 32-bit computer. And well, it wasn't a huge step up. Not as much of a leap as it was going from a Commodore 64 to the Amiga. This, is pretty much just a little bit enhanced because it had the AGA chipset. Obviously, it had more colours. This loading times was more quicker. But the thing is, I couldn't get rid of my Amiga 500 because not all the games would work on my 1200. So I had to keep my 500. Yeah. So basically, this was the last computer I owned until I got a PC. So once the PC was there, I ended up, well, my Amiga 500 I sold quite a while ago. My Commodore 64 and my Amstrads are sold at that point. But as I say, I had this up till 1997. Until software became unavailable. It was deteriorating. We knew that the PlayStation was out at this time. Gaming, when the PlayStation came out, gaming went to a different level at this time. But at that time, after the Amiga, I took the PC route. So that was the end of my computing history there. But as I said, I had a few consoles after that, and now this was well into the millennium. I think mid 2000s, something like that. And this is when I was married, and my wife wanted a PlayStation 2. Never owned the first PlayStation, but I did own a PlayStation 2. So this was pretty good at the time. It was brilliant because it could play DVDs as well as being a game console. So it served two purposes. I don't recall buying many games for it. I think I wasn't, as I said, I wasn't much into consoles. But I know my wife wanted one, so we ended up buying one. My ex-wife, that is. And then we moved to America. I think we ended up selling it, and I bought. No. I was inherited another PlayStation 2 when I was over there. Yeah, I think the best games I played was obviously the Gran Turismo 4. I think Gran Turismo 4. I enjoyed playing Gran Turismo 4, and the two Getaway games. There was two Getaway games which I did eventually complete. So I did enjoy playing the Getaway games. So what did I get? As I said, I was in America at that time, so my wife decided she wanted. I actually traded the second PlayStation in. Eventually, I did get bored of it, so eventually we got a Nintendo Wii. Yes, so the white version of the Nintendo Wii, brilliant console, absolutely brilliant. But it was brilliant if you had quite a few players, because I remember playing the bowling game. Oh, we was playing that for so many for a long time. It was so much fun, especially when people came around, having up to 4 players playing bowling and other games. But I do believe what did I have? I had Driver Parallel Lines. Did I have that for this? I can't remember. I think I did. I quite like that. But yeah, as things happened, I came home and I eventually bought another one. I bought one for myself, which was the black one. But I didn't really get into it as much, so I ended up selling it. Fantastic console. I thought it was a fantastic console because I like the Wii Motion, all that. I just think I just thought it was different. But obviously it was just me, and no one really was interested at this point, so I ended up selling it. But before I owned this, I did buy, when I was back over here, the final console, or the first console. No, it was the second console I bought, was the PlayStation 3. Now, there was a good reason why I wanted a PlayStation 3. Obviously, because I owned a PlayStation 2. Obviously, because it had a built-in Blu-ray player. You know, a console with a Blu-ray player, brilliant. But once again, I think I only bought about 5 games for this. I think I owned it for a few years, and I just got bored of it, including I bought Gran Turismo, the latest one, for the PlayStation 3, but played it a few times, so I just ended up selling it. I even had one of the Guitar Heroes for it, because I had Guitar Hero for the Wii back when I was in America. One of the guitar, I can't remember what one it was, but I ended up buying Guitar Hero, one of them, for the PlayStation 3. But I ended up getting bored with consoles. That's why I just sold them. I just thought I might play it, but I've got my PC, so I didn't really need game consoles. Just computer. This is why I always had I like computers better, because you can just do more with them. Anyway, so there you go. So that was my history of computing and consoles. Not a lot. There wasn't a lot there. You're probably going, is that all you had? Yeah, that's all I had, because that's really what I was interested in at the time. As I said, after the Amiga, I wanted to go straight to PC after that. Game consoles, weren't interested. Obviously, my mate had a PlayStation. He used to bring it around my house. Also, my mother mate, he had a Super Nintendo. Yeah, but I just didn't want one. Just didn't interest me to buy. Because consoles, you can just, all you do is play games. Basically, I want something to do more than that, than play games. That's why eventually I went to the PC. I wanted to do more. I wanted to, I had all sorts of different things, like word processing, making music, all sorts of things. That's why I bought a PC. Game consoles I wasn't interested in. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, and goodbye.